Okay, thank you for coming. We will call the Board of Trustees meeting for Monday, September 16th to order. We'll have roll call. Please.
President Kenya,
Present.
Vice President Gitron,
Present.
Treasurer Waitman, Secretary Coombs,
Present.
Trustee Downs,
I'm here.
Trustee Figueroa,
Present.
Trustee Gardner,
Present.
Trustee Larson,
Here.
Trustee Ortiz,
Here.
Trustee Ross, here, Trustee Walker.
Present.
Thank you, President Kenya.
I'll entertain a motion to excuse trustee Well moved. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay, please join me in the pledge of allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move on to confirmation of the agenda. Any corrections, deletions, or additions from staff? And we'll stop. Nothing from the board. Agenda is moved. Okay. We'll pull those forward, so discussion. Okay. We'll move on to public comments. Only comments on either non-agenda items or agenda items.
We have a public comment from Bill Whistler, non-agenda item.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. It's been a couple months, it's been a very productive months. We had negotiations on the 13th of June and another negotiations on the 11th. First of all, I want to say there were some fundamental differences between the 13th and the 11th. And we could see where the district made some movement, and we are very, very close to a deal. The main dispute in the negotiations at this point is the district's withdrawal of the 3% one-time line, which we were able to at least show a little bit, showed up someplace else. It took us the better part of 2 months to get to this point, because a month and a half or so to get to this point, because when we walked out of that negotiations, the district stated that actually they had increased their offering. And they provided us a single piece of paper with no formulas, with essentially random numbers on it. That wasn't going to be sufficient for CSEA and for our team to be able to independently verify any of those numbers. So I had to build spreadsheets essentially from scratch to do so. And it took me the better part of 6 weeks to even get the correct salary data to determine what the actual cost of that proposal was. And once we costed it out, it was pretty clear that we're missing about 3/4 of a percentage point of ongoing COLA that was freed up in other areas. And it's our belief that that was going to be solved by at least some negotiations over one-time money. This is a very complex negotiations, because putting aside the fact that supervisor employees probably get what we get, the Teamsters had entered into an agreement with the district, and I got permission from the district's administration, your council, to be able to talk with the Teamsters Council, which is Michael Leon. Michael Leon's actually a former coworker of mine for 18 years at CSEA, and retired from CSEA and now works for the Teamsters, so I've known him for the better part of 2 decades. And he confirmed that the district has entered into a equity agreement with the Teamsters that basically says they get what we get. Now, that's good for the district, but it puts a tremendous amount of weight on CSEA, because while I'm at the table, one of my things at the table regarding the withdrawing of this 3% one-time money, the Teamsters aren't. And they have no context for it. That means that essentially all of your supervisory employees, your lab employees, your field workers, as well as your secretarial and clerical, is dependent upon 3 people and me in the negotiations room and whatever we sign, everybody else gets. So that's a lot of pressure. There hasn't been a lot of explanation. It was Michael's understanding that 3% is still on the table, and withdrawn. That's gonna create some issues, I think, for us at the table on Thursday. So what we're hoping to do is kind of split the difference and at least have some one-time money so that we can sign this agreement and move forward. That was our hope. The district has our spreadsheet. And there is, to be quite honest, a dispute between what the total cost of the deal is and then how much the district is rolling over in terms of a higher wage base overall. The district is essentially paying for some of this in form of a lower COLA overall that rolls over the future years. I think we've shown that in our spreadsheet. But overall, we actually had to break it down and actually find out where the district's numbers were, because again, all we have is a single piece of paper with no documentation, no wage base, and random numbers from our perspective that didn't have any backing. That's what's taking so long. We're at the table back on Thursday. We've asked the district, we counter proposed for a 2.5% one-time money. We expect the district's gonna counter propose back. But just be clear, once we settle the one-time money, we've got a contract. And not just a contract, essentially, as I understand it, that would then settle the Teamsters, because they're taking whatever money we're taking, and then you would be able to hand it out to the lab and clerical and I guess supervisor as well, and it's labor relations board. We are now on our 10th month. And it's been a productive negotiations, I think, but it's would be difficult to explain at this point with the loss of that one-time money, I think, to people that haven't been in the CSCA. I also want to point out too that we do have a Me Too within our employee groups, especially Teamsters, and if that one-time money shows up someplace else, you give it to CSCA anyhow. I believe that's how the Me Too works. So that's where we're at. We have our negotiations on Thursday. I'll be back here with a deal signed in the next couple weeks, and we're looking forward to the negotiation on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you. We did give you a little extra time. Anybody else think?
We don't have any other public questions.
Yeah, we'll move on to announcements, presentations, and written communications. We do have presentation of some service recognitions over to come up with results. I think these are the coolest plaques. Jess, come on up. Congratulations, 22 years of service. 22. On behalf of a very grateful board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here you go. Oh, a little proclamation.
Oh, thank you.
Need to wear masks later.
Okay. Thank you. Picture?
Picture, yeah, we're gonna do a picture. We'll do a picture of both of them. And Carlos.
Right here.
Now, just 29, 30. Yeah. Again, on behalf of a very grateful board and staff, you guys did a wonderful job, and we thank you for your service.
Thank you.
April 21.
Picture.
Oh, give me a minute, I love pictures.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Anybody want to say anything?
On staff president, and it's important that we celebrate service awards because it showcases the commitment that employees have to their workplace, but also the commitment that the workplace has to their employees. Because I work at a public institution, and it's important to know that they recognize us for the work that we're doing day in and day out to make sure that our customers, the communities, in our sense here is protected by the environment and the different things that happen in the area that we live in. So thank you for your service.
I just wanted to say it's nice to see in any organization the longevity of employees. Something must have gone right. If you put both years together, it's 53 years of public service. So being in public service is an honor. And you just achieved that and showed the example to the rest of us. You're happy. Your quality of life seems to be good, and you're continuing doing the good work with the good support of your team, your coworkers, and this body. So sincerely thank you. Continue with best wishes to you, your family, and your coworkers.
Thank you. Jeremy?
Just say it's good to see Jess and Carlos. These two are actually one of our retirees, so not only did they have many years of service, but they're also enjoying a well-deserved retirement, and so I wish the best for both of you and the rest of the folks that took that opportunity this year to usher in some early retirement, and staff has been working hard to fill some big shoes, but as Crystal shakes her head. And so appreciate you guys for coming tonight to accept that award, and I appreciate it. And Trustee John said your service to the district was a long service, and miss seeing your guys' face, and stop by sometime. Yeah, you're welcome.
Exactly, you're always welcome, and really would like to thank you, but also thank your family as well. You know, because your family goes through it with you as well too, so, you know, our best wishes to you going forward, to you and your family. Enjoy retirement. Okay, well, with that, we'll move on to the consent calendar. I know we did pull the minutes for July 9th. Do you want to discuss those, Doc?
No, I just need to abstain.
Okay. We'll pull that for separate vote. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended. Motion. Second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. We'll entertain a motion for the minutes of July 9th. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Did you
Abstain.
make?
Okay.
And we have one abstain. So motion will carry with one abstention. Then we'll move on to informational items. We'll move on to business item. Item number 7A is old business. It's a discussion and or approval of delegating authority to the general manager, the administrative finance manager, and the ad hoc building committee to finalize scope of work and negotiate the agreement with Central Government Business Solutions for District Energy Projects. Chairman?
Yeah, I'm sure some of the board members weren't here for the study session, so President, can you let me say that again?
Please.
Okay,
We'll go to the board, please.
yeah, Megan, could you just pull up the presentation that I ended up with? Thank you. Yeah, so we had a study session here at 4:30 to go over the energy project that was is on part of our business for tonight. Yes. And the focus of this project is been a process that started a year ago. And the focus of it is to have a budget neutral energy project with cost savings through solar replacement expansion, which includes installation of electric vehicles, charging infrastructure, replacement of our HVAC units that are turned out as far as the life of the units, replace and upgrade our building management system, so that goes for our lab space as well as the rest of the district facilities, and also upgrade our lighting from the current fluorescent to LED. As I mentioned, the study sessions aligns with our strategic plan, making sure that our facilities are reliable, cost effective, and evolving to meet future needs, as well as some of our district's core values, and specifically financial sustainability, provide stability through responsible use of public funds, and also environmental stewardship, not only through our programs, but also through the functioning of our facilities to make sure we're minimizing our footprint here in the Coachella Valley. Here we go. And the other piece is it aligns with California's climate plan, roadmap to 2045, reducing
to basically a net zero carbon pollution by that year. And so again, this checks off and supports that statewide goal. Just a bit of background, again, it's been a year in the making. Working with Centrica and our staff, from August through November, Centrica conducted a preliminary feasibility assessment. At the December meeting of 2023, we had a study session that went over that preliminary assessment, and the board at that time gave the okay to move forward with what Centrica calls an investment grade audit, which included level 3 energy audit, comprehensive field audits, detailed savings and firm cost measurements and verification methodology, detailed report that was provided to staff this summer that we reviewed with Centrica staff. We then on September 6th met with the ad hoc building committee, which consists of Trustee Patron, Walker, and Gardner, and went over the highlights of that project and got information to formulate the presentation for tonight. And so what this board staff report is requesting is that staff is seeking project approval, delegation authority to myself and the ad hoc building committee to finalize the scope of the project and negotiate a contract that will be done in consultation with general counsel. And over the course of the next several months, again, do that, perform that process, and then come back at the November board meeting to hold what's required, I guess, by law is a public hearing, and then also through to present that final draft of the scope and the agreement to be reviewed and potentially approved by the board to move to the next step. And we have here tonight Ken Hogan, who's their senior account executive there in the front, and Miles Coleman, which is an energy engineer, and then also Dan Mitchell, who is the lead and sales leader. Thank you, sorry about that. And they are here to answer any questions and continue discussion from our study session. So with that, I'll open it up to the board.
Okay. Thank you. Questions of Jeremy? If not, we'll move on.
Jeremy, well, Jeremy, my question for you is, as the leader of the organization, how do you see us moving forward with this, and how do you look at like the lifespan of this project and the organization's growth, right?
Yes. From my perspective on the project as it was discussed today, LED is something were built in 2002, and all that infrastructure is in need of catching up with the times and up to code. The HVAC system is again a must, not only for proper functioning, but also staff morale. They always seem to go out in the summer when people are working hours, and so it'd be good to get those all updated so we have a smooth functioning HVAC system. As far as the building management system, I agree with what was said at the study session. We're kind of roped into Johnson Controls, which is great if they're available. If it's not, they're not. None of these administration building or the other buildings are part of that system, which I think would streamline, be more energy efficient. Another big piece that we talked about was some of the critical lab infrastructure. The -80 freezers could be networked, as well as our insectaries, which can go down. And if we're here when they go down, great. Those sometimes have gone down in the past where temperatures rise and there's potential of losing our colonies, which are essential for some of our evaluation work that we have. And to lose those things, to lose the reagents and the samples that are -80 is a major setback. It's something we can come back from, but if we have that network, it's something that we can hopefully circumvent or prevent that from happening. The other piece, I think, with the existing solar panels, from my perspective, is something the district put a lot of, I don't know what payback was exactly, but I know we put a lot of money towards those. I think based on what I've heard from Centrica and their work, it makes sense to replace them. And I think it was an $80,000 difference between fixing the current system or replacing it brand new, which given the life of our current solar panels, which I think is 15 years or so, David. More than that, about that. It makes sense, especially for the warranties that they have. The expanded solar, I think, to make the project financially neutral, is required to have not only what we have currently working correctly, but also the expansion. Without those two pieces, we don't get that rebate from the federal government. And then the last piece on that, and also from the standpoint of we're dumping energy back in the system, which one helps us lower costs, but also gives back the community because the energy is using somewhere else and we're not using it. And then the last piece is the electric vehicle infrastructure. Based on what I know about the project, from my perspective, and I think I can speak first, is that it makes, I think, a lot of sense to move forward, at least with the IID piece of it, because I think it's gonna be, we don't really know what the future holds, but we're in line right now, we can take advantage of that. I think if we wait, those costs will just increase over time. As far as the system bringing from the switch gears, which I don't know what switch gear looks like, but I know from the IID to the actual parking area where we have the fleet vehicles. That's something maybe we could look at as at least getting the infrastructure to the actual covered parking of the fleet vehicles. Do we need to put in the charging stations? From my perspective, I think at least one, because there's a lot of unknowns that we don't, or things we don't know about electric trucks. And I think that's something that our mechanics and our fleet staff need to kind of go through the kinks of that. And I think the sooner that we do that, the probably the better, so that if we do get to that, whatever that line in the sand is gonna be with the state, we're prepared to be as seamless as possible. So that's kind of my perspective on the project.
Implementation question. So on the assumption that we have a final draft where they have work to review and conceivably approve it. When does the project start? When do you begin actual implementation?
That would be a question for you guys, but
Yeah, sure, I can answer that. So the solar and EV charging piece, because of the growing process, probably wouldn't have anything delivered to start working on site until probably 3 to 6 months out, depending on lead times. Lighting and HVAC, we could, and I think even BMS, we could probably start with that one.
Okay, so there's a lot of stuff before you can do that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it really just depends on lead times for some of these materials. But yeah, that's the main signifier when we'll actually start the construction process.
Along that line, how much coordination do we need to do as a district with the architects we're working with? It's about the remodel of his room, and I'm not sure how many other areas, but it seems like there would need to be a close coordination in terms of finalizing the plan before you can put in the lighting and make sure you're putting it where you really want it, plan it out, happen. Where are we on that?
I think the greatest coordination, Trustee Walker, is with this room in particular. This is the major focus for the remodel project for the boardroom. So I think that's, David, I think it's probably where we have the most articulation between the two groups. Other than that, the other areas I think are, at least at this point, probably independent of one another.
Then second question, in terms of earlier in the discussion, that indicated that there was looking at the possibility of adding battery backup to the lab. In particular, it turned out that it looks like it's going to be too expensive. Where we currently have some sort of generating capacity for emergencies, is our current system able to be designed to tie in with the new system, so that when we talk about these automated controls or control system for the whole facility, will that include the generator backup for your lab, so that someone doesn't have to be here necessarily? Starting, is that been looked at as part of the project?
So our current backup generator auto starts. So if the power shuts down, that our diesel generator kicks on automatically. Now, then that's not a problem. At this point, it's not a problem. Okay. If I understand your question correctly. Yeah, good.
My only concern with this whole thing is, the solar panels have a 15-year lifespan. And if you look at that kind of growth, you started in the first, by the time you buy your electric cars, it's all or dead in theory, right? So I just want to make sure how does that kind of play out?
with like the lifespan of the solar panel. And then by the time you buy your last electric car on this, on that scale that we saw earlier. What's gonna happen then to get new solar panels, or like, or is it because you're paying for maintenance every single year that in theory the panels are gonna be okay? And we won't use as much as the energy we pull from them until we get to a certain time period. And you can explain that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can answer that one. So, solar panel technology's improved a lot. So currently our manufacturers are quoting 30-year lifespans for solar panels, and we have also got I think we got a 20-year warranty on inverters. So I don't think that should be a problem, but if you're talking about like end of the entire system's lifespan, that would probably have to be another thing like this, where you'd have a company come in and look at once it's at its end of life and determine what the best solution is.
Okay, so. Where is that? So you see, you wouldn't get electric cars till 2028. So it's about a 15 years, so it's halfway through the life cycle of the life of the solar panel. So then 15 years after that, we would still have the panel would still be.
Yes,
Manufacturers. Yes, 20 years, guaranteed to those 10 years. What happens is 10 years?
the panels, I believe, are still under warranty for 25 years. So if the panels go out in those 25 years, manufacturer will, replace them.
Are you sure, or you believe that that's the case?
There's a warranty, so the material is covered.
What about the inverters?
The inverters, we, got a 20-year warranty for,
So 20 years for the panel and 20 years. for the-
25 years for the panels, 20 years for the inverters. Yes, so in those 20 years, if they break, then they will be, replaced.
So the inverters that we currently have that are broken, what was the warranty on those?
We don't think that it was, or it was active, probably is expired now, because I think back then warranties were 10 years. Most current standard warranties are 10 years as well. So they don't fall under warranty anymore.
I just have a question for Gary. Knowing the investment that we're going into, and knowing the lifespan, we're budgeting for that time that we're going to be replacing, right? When it's no longer available.
We do have a, yeah, so from the standpoint of the district, we have a capital reserve plan, which all those factors in that, so,
Just like our vehicles and everything,
correct.
anything that has term of life. And that we've exhausted all benefit. And who knows then, that there'll be other opportunities of offsetting that cost.
What kind of energy?
But we have to act like it doesn't exist. I'm comfortable with that.
We have a follow-up question here to Jeremy or David. So in your opinion, do you think that by us doing this investment as a district, are we still gonna be okay financially? Are we still gonna have some reserves in the bank, or how does it not work?
I think that's, well, yes, we have money in the bank. But that's the short answer, but as far as like the how we pay for it, and that's been something that we discussed at the finance committee level when this, as this project has been developing. And I think the focus for the, if the board does approve moving forward to define the scope, define the agreement, that'll be the focus of the work staff, but also with the ad hoc building committee, and also can take it back to the finance committee since it's had the financial impact to come up with at least a basically all cash solution. That's what I'm envisioning. What would that look like and how can we do that? And or if we're not gonna do that, then what does partial, I think we've looked at partial financing and partial cash payment, which I think is probably the two options, but we can also look at complete financing as well, give that to the board to bring that back in November to see how we want to proceed, and decide to proceed any further.
All vote on that.
Nancy?
Go ahead.
No, you go.
Yeah.
Say honest.
No, I'm only gonna ask one thing. So I've heard you in your presentation speak about life of products, life of the solar panels, life of the inverters. What is your annual degradation in each of those pieces?
Currently, the models that we get from manufacturers is for panels, there's a 2% decrease in production year one, and then a 0.6% after that.
And those are guaranteed?
That's just what their standard models are. But that's also, because that's coming from a manufacturer, if you do need performance guarantee, those are the numbers that we're also using. So we're basically following, manufacturing standards.
Okay, I didn't quite understand.
So-
If that's what they're following, then that's what it is, but I thought you said that you guys didn't personally follow the degradation line.
Yeah, so our performance guarantee, is that the piece that you're asking about? So,
Basis.
yeah, so the performance guarantee, that is based off of what we get from the manufacturer. So if the 100% production that we, designed, sorry, the 100% production that we designed the system to produce, we're guaranteeing 90% of that. And then every year, as it degrades based on manufacturer models, we're also taking that into account for our guarantee.
What does that mean? You're taking them into account?
So like year one is 90%, and then year two, there's that 2% reduction, so now it's 90% of 98% of the total production.
I understand. I just wanted everybody to know that
Yes.
it's not the full amount
Yes.
all the way through. It goes down, what they will honor goes to, and it's not that they're not honorable, that's probably a bad choice of words, but what they honor goes down every year.
Yeah, what we're guaranteeing.
But if it fails, it's still on the order.
Exactly. So then that will be replaced on the guarantee.
And you check that degradation yearly?
Yeah, so every year, at the end of the year, we check the total production of the system and compare it to what it should be producing. And that's how we get our guarantee.
And then maybe the warranty then be 100%, or would it also, does the warranty also degrade over the years?
So the warranty is for like, I guess, it breaking. So if a solar panel broke or an inverter broke, that's gonna be replaced
At,
at 100%. Yeah, so then it will be brand.
No.
Okay. So my first question is, what are we approving tonight? Because here it says finalize the scope. Are we approving his whole list and the 4,044,100,000? Or can we remove stuff before the November board meeting? What are we approving?
You want my interpretation, you would be approving for myself, David, the Ed, and also the ad hoc building committee to get together and look at all those pieces of that project and decide if, what parts of those that we think from staff, also from the ad hoc committee, think are sensible to propose to the full board. So there's really nothing being approved other than moving to that next step of negotiating that contract, what that's gonna look like, so we're working with council, as well as finalizing what between staff and the ad hoc committee think is probably the ideal scope for that work, and that will come back in November for a full review of the full board.
Okay, because I have some questions that would be internally answered. For example, and I don't have the page here, but one of the proposals is to replace the HVAC systems. It was 100 and something thousand. It was about 305,000. And the original proposal was for 8 units, but this unit went down. And we are now at 7, which hasn't been revised here in the numbers. What I like to know is what did this one cost us without them to do? And if you times that by 7, does it, are we? I think we need to crunch more numbers and know what this one cost. It's lucky it went down because it gives us that, parameter to go with. So, would tonight be the night to answer that before we approve this, or is that during the ad hoc? First question. Second question would be for you guys. So I'm confused as to the fact that you say you need IID to do a power draw possibly. And I'm wondering, when you do EV charging, you calculate what you have transformer wise around the property, what your utilization is, and then what you have left to drop in EV chargers, right? And you guys are talking about type 2 EV charging. My question is, if you were going to make us completely efficient, why would IID need to bring more power in? If the panels and the lights and everything's offsetting what IID has on the property already? Why are we needing an additional power drum?
Because utilities require the worst case scenario. So basically, if everything was turned on all at once, how much total power would be drawn through the system? So even though you're never gonna be using everything simultaneously, they require you to have that capacity available.
Okay, so we have a lot of empty pads which have transformers on them, some of them, I believe. Did you get that number of what we're currently at and how much spare capacity we currently have?
Yes, and with the total amount of EV chargers that we believe we would need, which is one port for 2 vehicles, your car underneath what you require, or what I would require you to have,
Require what?
but below what you would require, or I would require you to have in terms of capacity to supply your site. So I think right now your transformer that we're hooking into is 300 kVA, and you need 800 kVA.
But we have more than one transformer, right?
Yes. But you wouldn't have, like, 500 kVA is quite a bit to split between the two, so it's easier to just do one utility upgrade than 2 small ones.
So what megawatts coming into the district right now, all of it?
I believe it is 650. 'Cause I think that's.
6.5 megawatts.
Oh, sorry, kilowatt hours of usage annually, is that what you're asking?
No, how many kilowatts, how many megawatts are we currently using, or do we? And what do we need?
So peak capacity would be, I think, 0.65, and you need roughly like 1.1. So like an extra
So
buck,
about half.
which is what this utility upgrade is for. It's to supply that extra power for EV charging.
Okay, so then the next question would be, what if we wanted to go to the next level of charger, right? I worry that type 2 isn't good for our applications here, because we'll have trucks come in, 5 PM, but then they go up for a night shift. And I don't think type 2 can get them back up to what we need. Do we have the ability?
Is that the same level too?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's not strong enough.
there we go.
It would be around the house.
So, are you factoring in that we could bring in superchargers, under this system, or would we then have to then go back to IID and upgrade?
You would have to go back to IT. So when we look at it, level 3 chargers are extremely not cost effective. I forget what the exact amount is, but I think, do you know how much the price difference is? It's a pretty significant amount, and based on this project's financials, it will not fit under a budget neutral solution.
But I guess that's the question I want, is what maybe we want to incur some cost and go type 3, so that when he runs in at the end of the day, he needs to get going again, type 3 is it, supercharges it, and off he goes. So for our needs, maybe it is possible that we do want to incur that cost. So that's the numbers I think we're missing before we approve this project.
Gotcha.
And then, other questions like, you don't do any solar panels with microinverters in them?
No, we usually just do a single inverter and then optimizers per panel.
Isn't the industry going more to microinverters?
I've not heard anything to indicate that now.
Okay, and then have you ever used sun power panels?
Sorry, what was that?
Did you ever install sun power panels?
No, we usually use Boviet.
Use what?
Boviet, their manufacturer.
Do you use Q cells?
I'm not familiar with what a Q cell is. What was that?
Manufacturer?
Oh, no, I don't think so, no.
So it's only it's a channel
Yeah,
on commercial grid.
yeah. So yeah, we, I guess for all the little background on that, we always select tier 1 panels, so the highest quality for manufacturing.
So have you had conversations with IID, because they supply the power that we would need?
Yes, so that was what we talked about. That's that letter that we received from them in writing that says that they are having temporary hold for us for this project to supply the power that we proposed.
That's good for a year.
They didn't give us an end date, but we said that the project will commence in 2025.
But just a question about the EV charging methodology. Where we looked at, a fleet of 60 vehicles, you'll end up with, ultimately 30 charging stations, so that 2 to 1 is the right ratio. The idea that when we modeled that with the staff, together, was to say that they go out all day, they come back at the end of the day, they're left here, right, they're charged throughout the evening, and then available for service first thing in the morning. So that was the model we were told we would follow with regard to that methodology.
And that sounds right, if you just have somebody always bringing it back and checking it in, checking it out. But there's gonna be other times that they're gonna maybe not wanna take out the whole fleet, or maybe they're gonna need daytime charges, which is gonna kind of knock you off a little bit.
Yeah, and that can be done for vehicles that aren't being used. You wanna have all your vehicles deployed at any given time, every single day. And the charges are generally good based on, again, the information that we were given about range that you use on average. That they really need to be charged probably every 3 days, so we're pretty conservative on that. So just to shed a little more light to how we came to the system.
Okay. And then another question would be the O&M contract, right? The
Yes.
maintenance contract that we do for all this. We said there was somewhere around 55,000 a year we're gonna be paying.
Yeah, so that OEM, that breaks down, that's the measurement verification contract. The O&M contract for the DMS control system and the O&M contract for the solar system.
And is that basically offset the savings? That cost- is the cost of that yearly with 3% cost of living increase, is that factored into the cost savings?
Yes, in the cash
Offset?
flow model. Mhm.
And when does that start?
That would start at beneficial use. So at the end of construction, when we start realizing savings, that's when those implement.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah.
And using any local contractors, you have that criteria?
Yeah, we looked at, so, we intend to self-perform on the dispatch side. But you have a number of local district contractors that are local as well. Here, the folks that we're gonna use to do the O&M contract for solar. And for the NVIDIA's are folks that are on our team.
Any other questions? Again,
And then on the HVAC side, I should just point out, you have a local contractor that, that you're engaged with right now.
The monitoring of the system, is that something that you do centrally, or is that something that's done here at the district?
That's something we do remotely from our headquarters. Yeah, as well as here, there'll be a front end that will provide the opportunity to put in schedules, put in set points, get alerts or alarms in real time. So that awareness throughout the whole facility. Right now, you have a portion of the facility on the BMS system, but not the entirety of it. What you have here, including some of the people that would like to add. So both our folks, as well as your folks, will be able to see that.
That way we know when the inverter goes down, somebody's out there to fix it instead of finding out that the system is broken and not producing.
Exactly, and what's important there from a productivity standpoint is that time does not go by. If you lose an inverter, we want to be on that right away because that's impacting the productivity. And we're guaranteeing that productivity throughout the year, so it's in our best interest as well as in your best interest to have that open by that.
okay, once again, I think that we're moving this forward to staff and the ad hoc committee. Obviously, I think they've all heard the discussion that we've had here. I'm sure that they will move those into the scope of work. Any other comments?
I'll go ahead and make a motion
Okay.
that the board delegates authority to the general manager, the administrative finance manager, and the ad hoc building committee to finalize scope of work and negotiate an agreement with Senator Business Solutions for the district energy project.
For a second? Second. There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain.
I'm abstaining.
Thanks. Motion carries carried with, one abstention on,
Two of us.
two.
I wonder if this might be appropriate, to consider asking the other board members what participated on the ad hoc committees. Now, it's such information is more understandable by each member of this group. There might be someone else that said,
But sure, if somebody would like to volunteer, more than welcome to join that as long as we have the majority.
And the other recommendation for the committee would be to forward any comments and anything to us, so maybe we can have it for us.
And Doug, I just want to say, I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place in just this. If you brought me a new pair of pants and you said these pants are gonna live longer than any of your pants, because look at the stitching on it and look at the fabric they made it out of. It looks good, but I don't really have the expertise to tell you whether or not that's better fabric or better stitching. I just don't. And I don't feel like I could bring anything to that conversation. It could be for sure.
Okay, and any member of the board is welcome to join that committee as long as you, if you want to let me know, that'd be great. Then we can schedule a meeting as well too. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on, so that made the motion and the votes. Okay, we'll move on to new business, there is none, committee reports. I don't have any executive committee reports, although we did have an opportunity to attend the CSDA conference in India was last week. Very informative and a lot of good presentations as well too. So that's my report. Anyway, we'll move on to finance committee.
okay, right, this brief, I think that pretty extended. Your finance committee met earlier this afternoon and went through the check report, account card records, and financials. I think probably the main thing on the financial report is in your packet, page 22, the general operating fund graph, the cash flow, and you notice it early in the fiscal year. Let's see, is it possible to get that up, make it on this? Every one, two, one, right. Yeah, there we go. So this is the standard graph. If you look at the upper left corner of the graph, you can see the dark line, and that dark line indicates where we are currently. I think the most probably important reminder for each of us is that you notice that graph goes down at a pretty steep rate there. For this first half of the year, our operating funds come from our list of called the fund balance. That really is the operating fund balance. Those are the reserves. So the first half of the year we're operating on reserves starts with about 7 million. First half of the year, before we begin receiving our revenue from the county, property tax assessment, that doesn't begin until December. So that's probably the most important thing to see at this particular point. And that was our the committee did talk about having a discussion. Our next meeting regarding the possibility of working with the financial records to look at quarterly reports rather than monthly reports. Give us a little clearer picture and minimize some of those ups and downs each month that are reflected due to the timing of payments and expenditures. So, and let's see, the other item that was discussed in today's meeting was an actuarial report from Cal Hers. And basically, no, it's a fairly extensive report. The bottom line is that they are indicating that at least as of June fiscal year 23, that we are meeting our district goals as far as funding, that we are funded below 90%. Pension fund, that's been one of our goals as a board and district. So that was good news at this particular point, and we want to continue to operate in that direction.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, Doug. Okay, we'll move on to trustee comments. Anybody have anything for the good of the order?
I do.
Okay.
So as you might know, I work for Senator Wallace, and then on August 3rd, we partner with Coachella, with the Mosquito Control District, and then I just want to thank Robert Fernando for partnering with us. They donated 100 backpacks that we'll give to kids, so we partner with some other organizations, but you guys provide us 100 backpacks, and then you guys on a table, you guys like mosquitoes, the kids loved it, they had so many questions, so I just want to thank you for all the work. That was really great.
Did they take them all?
So again,
Mow the van?
Well,
There's a few of them. It's called mow.
oh,
There's other things of activities and stuff.
Okay. Rob didn't go, I don't think Trust Ortiz knows Mo yet, or
no,
knows.
you're not familiar with that.
But now he knows he didn't get it.
So Mo was there, maybe.
The drone meeting must be really good with the kids too.
We have to go to the roundabout drones here.
Oh,
Mo and Dave.
that big one will be like, wow.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to reports. You can have a brief report from Jeremy. Brief, thank you, Jeremy.
I have a brief update. So, go ahead, Dane. Just to quickly, I'll be sending, or Megan will be sending the board a recorded update on arbovirus operations and outreach activities. I knew that the meeting was going to be longer tonight. But just to give you an update, arbovirus, that far left graph is West Nile on the top and St. Louis encephalitis on the bottom. So you can see our West Nile virus activity was very active for a while, but that has now subsided quite a bit, and we're back down to what we would normally see over a 5-year average. That's what the gray area is. And knock on wood, St. Louis encephalitis has still not been detected in the valley, so that's the first time since I think we discovered it, I think back in 2015, if I remember correctly. The other graphs there, the middle graph is just our mosquito numbers, and so the mosquito numbers looking about where they should be this time of year, some areas a little bit higher than others, and then that circular graph there in the far right corner is our wonderful black and white mosquito Aedes aegypti. And so as you can see, the red in all those graphs is the current, and you can see our Aedes aegypti population is actually a little bit lower than it typically is, not the lowest it's ever been, but we're getting about that time of year when those numbers start to kick back up. But due to our operations efforts in India, Coachella, some of our target areas, I think we should see some lower numbers, as well as people becoming more aware of where these mosquitoes breed. I think is also a big piece of that. So that's where we're at. The risk overall for arbovirus is trending down, which is to be expected this time of year. Next piece, Megan. Just an update. Staff has been working with Rancho Mirage, part of that project, working with our cities and working with our HOAs to start to have some accountability with some of our more, the reason we're focused on the HOAs is because they're an entity. They have a gate, they have a board, they usually have property management, that's it.
Water.
And they have water, and they have standing water, unfortunately. So staff has been, as we've been gearing our staff back up our operations, we've been working with Direction Mirage Code Compliance. I'm Pamela, who's heading up that effort on that end. It's evolving still as we've been working for the year. They've been targeting on their own some of the high water flow areas in their own by themselves, but they're also working with our staff as operations staff has been fully out again to actually have a group meeting of property managers in conjunction with the district as well as the city of Rancho Mirage, so we can kind of get them all under one roof, tell them about what the issues are, and then make action from there and create kind of specific plans for each of those developments. So that's been nice to see evolve. It'll continue to evolve. And we'll see how that goes into our slower season for operations. With some more time to work more closely with that. I have reached out to all the city managers as part of that effort to make sure I know who the key code compliance folks are for their cities. And so later this fall, early winter, we'll be meeting individually with those cities to kind of go over the effort we've been working with Rancho Mirage and how we can kind of repeat that in the other communities as both cities and our district have time to do that moving forward. So that's a good update. Another piece about transparency, which we'll be sending out to trustees and also via link from our website. One of David's project was to create a budget summary book. So David, Megan and myself, I think Megan doing a lot of interaction with our consultants, create a budget summary book. And basically the goal of this book was to do the next page, Megan, is to create something a little more engaging to get someone to pick up the budget document and look at what we're spending funds on and how we're using that. So this is an abbreviated version of I forgot to look at the page number of our budget document, but about 25 pages of high level summary, gives people details about what we're doing, also about our staffing, our operating budget, our revenue, our capital budget, and also gives a glossary, which I like, which defines what all those acronyms and government things mean. And so I think that's a good first effort as far as the district and David in particular, getting our finances more available to the general public, and we'll really continue to work in that year after year. So once you do get a copy of that, feel free to send me or Megan and or David some feedback on it, what you liked and what you may like to see in future iterations of it. So excited about that. Last thing, Special District Associate Riverside County. Megan and myself are the drivers of that. And so we are working on a meeting on October 17th. It'll be a lunchtime meeting somewhere here in the Coachella Valley. We're still waiting to nail down the presenter, but this association has been a new association relatively, and we're part of getting it up and moving again. It kind of took a hit when COVID started, right before COVID hit. And so it's been kind of in a holding pattern, but I'm on the board of that, as well as several other special district GMs from not only the valley, but outside the valley from Riverside County. So we're working on that. So we'll keep you posted if you can come to that. It'd be great to have you here.
You know, maybe that's the League of California Cities Conference, so Long Beach as well, too, so.
So this will be much better than that. So. But yes, we'll make a video of it. It's very hard to schedule with all kinds of people, with all types of backgrounds.
Yeah, but what are your homework?
Yes. Remember that for next time. We had actually another date, we had to scramble for another date. So, and the last piece of that was, Robert set up a video, actually discussion with trustee Butrone on one of our coffee meetings, talking about getting our board meetings up on the web for people to access after the fact. So while we will always have them zoomed, this current board meeting will be put on our website. So if folks want to go to our website and watch what transpired, they'll be able to do that. So most likely by the end of the week, we'll have that up. And again, we'll track to see how that's used by folks clicking on it. And I think that is it.
And just a note is that as we transition into revamping this room, it'll be a lot more quality for the programs.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions for Carol? If not, we go on to Lena.
You'd like me to reach into closed session?
Please.
Okay, closed session, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to government code section 54957.6. Agency designated representatives Lena Wade, Mr. Moreno, and David Ianson. and employee organizations are California School Employees Association and Teamsters Local 9.1.
Okay, thank you. We will go into closed session, so we will excuse those of you who are out in the public. And then follow the closed session, and we will be back in. just a few minutes.
Is there anyone in the meeting room or? No?
Soon as you're ready. Bring it on.
Alright.
Okay. Report from council.
Thank you. With respect to item 10A, there is no report of lunch.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So.
All second, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
It's 11.